1 a.m. We will have the invocation by our police chaplain, Reverend Frank Stevens, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stand for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we join together. We pray for our city leaders as they have the responsibility, the great responsibility to watch over and guide the city of Lynn Haven. We thank you, Lord, that you have blessed our city with leadership that pursues what is best for our city. Give them wisdom and discernment for the decisions they're making today. We also pray for a blessing over our city workers, our protection over our police and firefighters. We thank you for their faithfulness in fulfilling their duty for the residents of the city. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll have the announcements regarding the April 22nd results.
Mayor and City Commission, the Lynn Haven Commissioners, Seat 3, City of Lynn Haven, Johnny Bashirs, 1,088 votes, Jamie Ward, 1,786 votes, overvotes 0, undervotes 41. At vote percentage, 37.86%, 62.14%. Election day, 423 for Johnny Bashirs, Jamie Ward with 681, undervotes for 21. For voting early, 480 for Johnny Bashirs, 800 for Jamie Ward. Vote by mail, 185 for Johnny Bashirs, 305 by Jamie Ward. These are the results for Seat 3 on Election Day.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to accept the April 22nd, 2025 election results from the canvassing board?
Motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Peebles. Is there any comments from the public? All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandergriff?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. At this time, we'll have the swearing in for Commissioner-elect Jamie Ward, and we'll have our City Attorney, Ms. Amy Myers, administering the oath of office to Commissioner-elect Jamie Ward.
I, Jamie Ward, do solemnly swear
that I will
support, protect, and defend
the
Constitution of the Government of the United States and the State of Florida against its enemies, foreign and domestic. Bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I am entitled to hold office under the Constitution. That I will faithfully perform all duties of the office of Commissioner Seat 3 of Lynn Haven, on which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So it's quite a bit I wanted to say today. First, I kind of wanted to reflect back. I remember the first time that I considered running for Lynn Haven Commissioner. And I was told it would be exceedingly difficult. After all, I'm not originally from here and didn't have the connections some said were necessary to get elected. But with the help of just a couple of people who assisted me with campaign slogans, researching city issues, and designing campaign materials, I set off going door to door all by myself, unsure of how things would turn out. I talked to countless Lynn Haven residents, listened to your concern, and raised a whopping $2,420.20. Don't ever believe someone that says you need money to run for local office. The only thing you need is the drive to go out and earn it. I went from someone few people knew to being elected. I went from someone few people knew to being elected your next commissioner. And for that, I appreciate it. This election, though, was very different. First, I had far more people step up to help, going door to door, delivering door hangers, building and placing sign stands, contributing to my campaign, or simply spreading the word to their family, friends, and neighbors. And for that, I am forever grateful for your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't have done it without you. Most importantly, I want to thank my family. You could please stand up and join me. As you can tell, they're very enthused by this. When I served in the military, they sacrificed a lot. Spending time without me during deployments, missing holidays and birthdays, and enduring long work hours that extended into weekends. And after I retired, instead of slowing down, I chose to take on this crazy journey and run for public office. I know it's not easy having a husband or father in public office, but I appreciate every sacrifice you made, and for that, I am forever grateful. I take it my flowers aren't here? All right. I have flowers that were supposed to be here at 8:45. And if anybody knows me, that's a big deal, because the last time I gave my family flowers was about 9 years ago, when I had my retirement ceremony with the military. So that seems to be the trend. About every 10 years, I give them flowers. So I'm about a year ahead of schedule. And so I just wanted to bring you up here and say thank you. And when the flowers do get here, I will give them to you. And just be prepared. 2034, 2035 will be your next shipment for flowers. But thank you very much for your support. All right, so the second thing, the conversations I had with residents this time around were much different. I spent a lot of time thinking about what I was going to say today. Let me begin by saying this. I recognize that there are areas that I need to improve on. I'm not oblivious to that. I understand it can be difficult for us to truly know what residents want, especially when many aren't actively engaged with the city. I also recognize that we, as a commission, are sometimes limited by certain obstacles, such as state law. Like for instance, when we vote on development orders. Even if we personally disagree with it, we're often required to approve them as long as they comply with our comprehensive plan and unified land development code. What I'm about to say isn't meant to brag, boast, belittle, attack, or make any of you look bad. It's just an honest reflection of what I heard from residents. As you know, I believe going door-to-door knocking and having conversations are the most effective way to campaign, and I had many of them. A common theme emerged from those conversations, shared not just with me, but with members of my campaign team as well. Majority of residents told us they don't feel represented. They sense a major disconnect between themselves and the commission. In general, they expressed dissatisfaction with the current direction of leadership. This is just a generalization, not a blanket statement. However, if any of you would like to know more specifics, I will be more than willing to discuss this with all of you if you would like. No matter how this is received, the truth is we need to do better. Finally, I want to thank every resident who supported me. And just as importantly, every resident who voted, regardless of who you voted for. Too few people participate in local elections, which in my opinion are the most important ones to vote in. I appreciate your trust in me to represent you. And I want you to know I do not take this responsibility lightly. I will continue to fight for fiscal responsibility, ensuring we have effective processes in place so every dollar is spent wisely. I will focus on restoring public trust in our city, seeking greater transparency, and standing up to hold government accountable when we fall short of the standards our city deserves. I will continue to stand up for residents and dedicate my service towards making Lynn Haven even better than it already is. Whether you voted for me or not, I hope that I continue to gain your confidence and support. Because after all, we're all in this together. Please, though, know that my door is always open, and I welcome any feedback you may have. Thank you again for your support, your trust, and giving me another opportunity to serve you, the residents of Lynn Haven. Thank you.
This time we have our public commentary. We're getting Mr. Rich Walker.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Good morning. Beautiful day. Congratulations, Commissioner. Good luck. I only have 3 minutes, and it's not time enough to do what I want to do, so I'm going to have to bring it over possible years. This is not my first time at the rodeo dealing with the ex-Fuel Depot and Marina Island LLC. I was here under Mr. Lynch and worked with Washington, D.C. when it started and through when it finished. Like I said, I have 3 minutes to discuss this. I can't discuss it in 3 minutes. You are putting yourself in a box, and you're tightening the rope around your neck. You've decimated the UD LLC comprehensive plan with overlays. This has been done before. It didn't work. It's being done again. On the first visit to this thing, the master plan that came out from the Fuel Depot failed miserably. Now you have the same master plan regurgitated and fed underneath with sugar and cream, and you're going to go through it again. You're going to have to be careful. Marina Island LLC does not own the water. Marina Island LLC does not own the land underneath the water. They can't tell you what to do with it because it belongs to the state. Just like Bailey Bridge, you have to sign a contract with the state to use that property, and that is true. Riparian rights do not prevail with the Fuel Depot. Riparian rights are for lakes and streams. Territorial rights are what goes with that. So you're going to be walking through something that's very difficult. Like I said, you've put the noose around your neck by getting rid of the comprehensive plan, dealing with the 1911 plot, which is still in effect, supposedly. I don't think it's been thrown away, with the development of the Fuel Depot. They know what they're doing. Attorney better be watching out for the city, and the city planner should be watching out for the city. I wish you luck. This is going to be continued over the following years. You've got 30 years with this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jack Crutchfield.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor, City Manager, Commissioners. Jack Crutchfield, 502 Michigan Avenue. I've been asked by the seniors to come and speak on the behalf as a member of the seniors here in Lynn Haven. Are any of you commissioners over 70 years old? Yeah, I didn't think so. I'm 70 and I'm a virtual youngster over there. We have most of them are in the 80s and 90s. We have one lady who attends the chair aerobics that's 99 years old every three times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We have a lot of seniors. We usually, on those 3 days in the mornings, we usually have 60 plus people showing up just for the chair aerobics. While that's going on, we have several different card games. We have mahjong, we have sewing classes, we have puzzles. We have a line dance going on right after our event is over with. So there are probably 200 to 300 seniors using that facility a week, every week. Now, as it is, we get kicked out every time there's an election, every time there's a special event. We seem to be kicked out a lot, and now you're talking about taking away a portion of that for a new library or a new digital center or whatever you want to call it. And I'm here to say that the seniors are not going to be very happy about that. We are not very happy about that. We understand that building was given to us by a local church after Hurricane Michael, and we'd like to maintain and keep using that. And we'd like our concerns and needs, because it is a need. It provides socialization for seniors who wouldn't normally get out of the house. It gives them exercise, mobility. It improves their health so they don't fall as much. We've had a few people fall, but thankfully, because of what they're gaining, they're able to prevent themselves from getting damaged more severely. So on the behalf of the seniors, please consider our needs and our rights for using that building. I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much.
And Mr. George Hines.
Good morning. My name is George Hines, 1603 Rhode Island Avenue, Lynn, Florida. And I'm over 72, so I'm a senior also. I don't use the center. I go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning. I work out every day and do what I need to do to live. Now, I'm here to talk about the last election we just had, one that's probably going on right now. When you have a forum, you invite the public to come out and see the candidates and hear what the candidates have to say. But the Republican Party this year decided to have one where they had people come in, and I was in it because I'm not affiliated with any party. But when you ask a question of getting rid of a person just because of their job or because of their party, I think that's highly unethical to have that question at a forum. But they had it. And certain people talked about what they would do if they got in the office at that forum. I don't think that's appropriate because when the Democratic Party have a forum, they invite the public and they listen to the public and they will ask questions about whether you fire somebody because they're a Democrat or because they're a Republican. I didn't like it, and I'm here to tell you I didn't like it. Now, they said that if your city manager and your mayor was both Democrats, which one of them is not a Democrat. But if they were a Democrat, it wouldn't make that much difference with the job performance. They're here to do a job. Not to be liked, not to be disliked, not to be mistreated. And sometimes I think it's not because of the party that you're affiliated with, but it's the color of your skin. I'm born and raised in Bay County for over 72 years, and I know this county, and I also know Lynn Haven. A lot of people that's in Lynn Haven now is not from here. You came here because of great tax breaks that you get in the state of Florida, not because you love Lynn Haven that much. So I'd appreciate it if you come up here, be honest, and say what you really mean from your heart. Appreciate you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Additional public commentary. This time we'll move on to the mayor's report. Have 2 proclamations and 1 presentation. First proclamation is for National Public Works Week. Whereas the theme for the 2025 National Public Works Week is People, Purpose, Presence. Meeting the needs of people is what gives Public Works its sense of purpose. Public Works professionals are ever present, working in the background to advance quality of life for all. And whereas the People, Purpose, Presence theme highlights how Public Works makes communities safer, more vibrant, and a better place to live, whether serving as first responders, responding to electricity outages, providing regular waste pickup, or making roads and sidewalks passable after a winter event. Public Works is always there when people need them. And whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Lynn Haven. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works officials who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Lynn Haven to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th Annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association. I therefore, Mayor Jesse Nelson, and on behalf of the City Commission, encourage all citizens to declare by proclamation the week May 18th through 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week, and urge all citizens to join in and support the representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies and activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works programs, professionals, engineers, and employees to recognize the sustainable contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. And so certainly as a resident of Lynn Haven, I'm very grateful for the service that our public works provide. At this time, we'll have Casey and Adam to come up to receive this proclamation. Our next proclamation is for National Police Week. Whereas National Police Week, observed from May 11th through May 17th, 2025, honors the service and sacrifice of the brave men and women in law enforcement who protect and serve our communities each day with courage, integrity, and dedication. And whereas this week serves as a time to pay special tribute to law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty, recognizing their ultimate sacrifice and honoring their memory with deep gratitude and solemn respect. And whereas law enforcement officers play a vital role in safeguarding our neighborhoods, maintaining peace, upholding justice, and responding to emergencies with professionalism, skill, and compassion. And whereas the commitment of police officers to public service reflects the highest ideals of duty and citizenship, and their actions often go above and beyond the call of duty in the interest of public safety. And whereas National Police Week provides an opportunity for citizens to express appreciation for the daily risks officers accept and the burdens they carry on behalf of others, as well as to recognize the support and sacrifices of their families. And whereas communities across the nation stand united in their respect for the law enforcement profession and in their commitment to strengthening the relationship between police and the people they serve. I, Jesse Nelson, along with the City Commission, do hereby proclaim May 11th through May 17th, 2025 as National Police Week, and encourage the City of Lynn Haven to join me in appreciating and recognizing the men and women of our local law enforcement. This time we'll have Chief Ricky Raymond to come up and receive the proclamation. And And we have one more presentation. We don't give these out often, but we certainly do give them out to special people, and that is a key to the city of Lynn Haven. And on this day, I'd like to present a key to the city of Lynn Haven to Commissioner Judy Vandegrift in appreciation for your 2 years of service on the Board of Commissioners and your commitment to the city of Lynn Haven. Just a few brief comments in regards to my mayor's report. We have a full agenda for today, so certainly want to get on to those matters. Would certainly like to thank the staff and city manager and all others who continue to sponsor great concerts in the park. Certainly, I always enjoy every time I get an opportunity to go and attend the concerts. And it is something not just for our residents of Lynn Haven. I was in a flower shop in Panama City the other day, and a lady recognized that I'm from Lynn Haven, and she was like, "Hey, are those concerts in the park tonight?" And that was on a Tuesday. So I'm like, "No, not tonight." So obviously, as we know, it is something that our community enjoys and engages in as well. And I see that at all of our community events, that I see people from all over Bay County always come out to attend our festivities. And so just really excited about what we're able to do, not just again for the city of Lynn Haven, but for all of the residents of Bay County that really bring our community together. Thank you to the city manager for following up on some issues that I emailed her about. We've having some rodent issues with some of our citizens, and so her and staff are addressing that. And so thank you for following up on that. That's an essential thing for us to take care of. So, and I've also had a chance to meet with some other residents in regards to road work, and so Public Works has followed up with me on that in regards to some road paving in some different areas. And so just continue to communicate with us. Of course, we're available by email, messenger, Facebook, and at other times when you see us in the community as well. And that is my report for today. Commissioner Peebles.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say that I'll be having a coffee meetup on the 24th at 8 a.m. So if anyone wants to come out and have some coffee and talk about some stuff, I'll be there. Also wanted to give a special shout out to the sports staff, because baseball season and softball season is coming to, spring softball and baseball season is coming to a close. And I think it was a very successful season. I had a lot of fun with my kids, and I thought it was done really well. So thank you to the staff that made that happen. Also wanted to thank the park staff, because there was an issue with some of the stuff getting destroyed in one of the parks, and it got taken care of swiftly. So someone reached out to me about that, and it got taken care of very quickly. So I just wanted to give a special shout out to that. I want to say personally thank you to Commissioner Vandegrift for the past 2 years. You've been a great mentor and a great commissioner. I think I'm excited that you got the key to the city. That was awesome. So thanks for all you did, and that you will continue to do for our great city. Congratulations to Commissioner Warwick for your being reelected. I'm looking forward to working with you for you the next 4 years, for me the next 2 years. And thank you for all you've done. And one thing a citizen brought up to me, I don't know exactly the route, so maybe we can talk about it a little bit, but there was another accident on East Avenue, pretty bad one. And I know that's not within our purview. So I don't know if that's something what the correct path would be to talk with FDOT to kind of figure out, is it the time to start looking at a traffic light or something like that. I don't know if that's something the TPO deals with, or can talk to some people and figure out what we need to do. I know it's not within our purview, so it's not something we can do, but maybe it's something we can talk to some people about.
Yeah, that's 389 as a county. So what we can do is, as you just mentioned it now, and then try to give some direction to, or ask our city manager to start meeting with their city management or their county management to start discussing some of what those issues are. Because it is something that has come up over the years as well. And each time we have talked about installing a traffic light there, usually there's pushback against that. So, but that doesn't mean we still can't bring it to their attention. That's an issue that we need to address.
Right. Awesome. Appreciate it. And don't forget to vote, everybody. Early voting from 8 to 5, and then election day, 7 to 7, right across the street. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, Commissioner Perno.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to go off a little bit of what Commissioner Peebles just said, that there is a project that with the DOT to 4-lane 389 from all the way from east from 231 to just past 390, and it's about getting to the mill, and it's in the work group. It's in the 5-year work plan, I believe. So that's going to happen. I know we need a lot more than just a right turn lane, because they're building those townhomes on 26th Street, and that intersection is going to be even more hazardous once we start getting more people on that road. So, and everything you just said, thank you, Commissioner Vandegrift. It's been great working with you as a commissioner and on the TPO. Commissioner Warwick, welcome back, even though you never left. You're still amongst us, and I look forward to working with you the next couple of years. So with that, I'd just like to briefly just say thank you to everybody who keeps coming out to meetings and caring for your city enough to be here and be present. You know, we had 19,000 registered voters, and we had 2,800 get to the polls. You know, we need to hear more from the people that care enough to do things like vote and come to our meetings. You know, thank you to all our city employees and all of our first responders. And I'll just end it. So I know we got a lot of agenda items to get to. So thank y'all.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
I'll make mine quick. Usually by the time it gets down here, everything has been talked about that I want to talk about, but appreciate Commissioner Peebles bringing up the 389, 39th Street accident. I was going to bring that up too. So thanks for bringing that up, and thanks for Commissioner Perno for letting us know what the future plan is on that, being on the TPO. And also thank you, Commissioner Vandegrift, for serving our city, everything you've done, and hope you appreciate your time with your grandkids. So thank you. Yep, thank you for, all the employees for what you do for our city. I know the things that happen don't happen by accident. It takes a lot of work, so I appreciate it. And the last thing I have is I got my time with the commissioner on 24 May at 11:30 at Tacos Way. So that's open to anybody. Feel free to come on out. You can't make it. Give me a call, 850-391-1217, and be happy to meet you, whatever works for your schedule. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. And to Commissioner Vandegrift.
Yeah, you guys were probably disappointed I showed up again. First of all, I want to thank the citizens that gave me the opportunity to serve on the commission. It's been 2 years and 4 months, and I've learned a lot. But because of family circumstances, and I am over 70, I just didn't want to admit it. Okay? So way over 70, actually. You're not supposed to ask females how old they are. So I can't attend the next meeting of the swearing in. And it's not because I am resentful for whoever is going to be elected. That's not it. But I am going with my grandchildren on a trip. And it's been planned for quite some time. And so, when you think about it, grandchildren usually went out. So I apologize for missing the swearing in the next time. I just wanted to say the reason that I chose not to run for reelection is internal family issues, and had nothing to do with the city. It had nothing to do with politics. You know, it was what's in the best interest of my family. Next, I would like to address the comments by Mr. Warwick. We disagree all the time, so he's used to this. I have great respect for everyone on this commission. They work hard. I know you don't see it a lot of times except when we're in meetings, but they do, because I meet with them and I know what they've been doing. So they all, 100% of them, work very hard for this city. But Mr. Warwick made a comment about a disconnect. I'm not arguing with him. There is a disconnect from the citizens. But think about this. There are 19,000 voters, registered voters in this city, and 3,000 voted. I think sometimes people use that term disconnect as a cop-out. You know, we all have phones, we all have text, we all have emails. We have public meetings. So people are welcome to inquire, to contribute. We all respond. So I encourage those that are here to encourage others to start participating. And let's don't use a term, let's come like disconnect. Instead, let's use a term that contributes to a solution to the issue. And that solution is involvement. And number one is going to vote. When you only have 3,000 people out of 19,000 registered voters, that tells you something right there. So citizens, please start getting involved. And that's my last bit of contribution for this meeting. Thank you, guys. I've enjoyed getting to know you. I didn't know most of you even before this, before I was elected to the commission. But it's been a pleasure working with these gentlemen and the city manager. And thanks, citizens, for that opportunity which you've given me.
Thank you. City manager's report.
Yes, I'm going to keep it brief because we do have the audit report that we did not get to last meeting. And so, Commissioner Vandegrift, thank you for your wisdom, your calmness, and just really, really encouraging staff. We appreciate it more than you will ever know. Also, warrant list before I go any further, before I forget.
Good morning. Questions about the warrant list? Thank you.
July 4th, the applications are out. And so we encourage you to go and download an application and be a part of our parade. It's one of the biggest parades in Bay County. Every year, it's pretty awesome. And we just encourage you, if you want to be a part of it and participate, go on and download that application on our website or on Facebook, or call the communications office and we'll get you one. Wanted to also just highlight something, and I know we can't tell you everything that's going on in the city because it is a lot, but one of the really great things that the city and Justin and his staff were doing is Special Olympics of Bay County. They were using our gym to practice. We enjoyed it thoroughly. I know Justin's team did as well. Just so you know, they won the region and are headed to state. So that's pretty awesome for the Special Olympics, and we hope we played a part in ensuring that they could practice and really be a good team. The panel outside, the spray right now in the pond, the fountain, that is out, but we're going to get that replaced. You will see some other beautification that's going to go on Highway 77. That's that beautification grant. And so you'll see a lot of different things that will change because of that grant that's involved. And before I'm going to ask Chief Ramey to start heading this way, just give us an update on the golf carts. We met with FDOT just 2 days ago, and of course, they did deny us with some reasons why they denied us for golf carts in some other areas. And Chief Ramey, if you will briefly just tell them why.
Ultimately, it has to do with the traffic that's crossing Highway 77, and ultimately DOT just spent a lot of time timing the lights on 77. So if you're to stack the roads that we ask, which was the 26th Street at Publix and then the 17th Street, and trying to get a golf cart across there in a timely fashion, they denied it because they felt like the vehicles would either not make it or they would run the red light trying to get across. So it was a matter of safety or timing. So they, were very transparent on why they felt the way they did. Personally, have my own opinion, but they will not budge on it, and they don't feel like their regional office would have signed off on it either. So that was their recommendation at this point.
Yeah.
I asked about Illinois and 390 to get, again, to try to get a connector, and some of you that are on the TPO are familiar that eventually that will be a dual-laned highway at some point. So to give it and then take it was not something that they entertained as I pitched that as well. So I just want you to be aware and the public to be aware that they denied all the access.
And their main reason was public safety.
Correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward had asked me to look at pulling together a pre-budget time for you to just kind of look at the budget a little bit earlier. So I just need some direction from the commission. The date that staff and I were looking at is when you will already be here on a pre-meeting, right after the pre-meeting. It's July 18th. Wanted to know if that would work so we could go on and start preparing for pre-budget meeting. Keeping in mind, we will not have true numbers in place. They just won't be available in many of the areas, but we can surely do a pre-workshop, but that budget won't stay the same. It will change. It will be a living document because as new numbers come in from the state, we will also have to put those numbers in as well. So I wanted to make sure that July the 18th, right after your pre-meeting, we could go into a pre-budget meeting. You'll just let me know. That'll be great. And then for the senior center, we love our seniors and we truly want to support them. I think it was back in 2018 that they switched over to being a nonprofit, 2019, somewhere there, a nonprofit organization. That building is owned by the city of Lynn Haven. The seniors have rented it out now for 32 years in the future because we charge them $1 to lease the building for, and I think it was a senior that came up and paid $32 for the next 32 years for that building to be leased, but it is owned by the city. And we under the agreement that we have the lease, there are some stipulations in there for when the city can use the building. We surely hope that we can minimize the number of times we have to kick you out and give you the garden club, absolutely. And we will work harder to try to make sure you stay in as much as possible. And now we're going to go to audit. And we have on the line Ben Clark, who's going to give you an update on audit. Kiki's here if you have any questions for her as well.
Good morning, Commissioner. How are you doing?
Doing well,
I'm
thank
going
you.
to share my screen. Hopefully that will allow you to see the audit presentation that we have for you all this morning. right, can you all see that? Hopefully you can.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you all again. My name is Ben Clark, and I think I've been with you guys a number of years now, and we're back this year just to present the results of the fiscal year 2024 audit. And so usually by this point, our team has done a lot of work. We've asked a lot of questions, gotten a lot of items from the finance team on everything that we've asked for. And so really what we're presenting to you here today is some high-level information about how the audit ended up, if there were any audit comments, where the fund balances ended up, and any other relevant information that you all have to go over. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, or if you just want to ask me at the end, we are good with that, and we're here as much as you need us to kind of answer any questions about the annual financial statement audit. And so without further ado on that, up on your screen in front of you, this will be the slide that we usually present that kind of describes the different reports that are contained within our annual financial statement audit. So there's obviously different types of audits that you can get as a city, but the one that the state of Florida requires you to get every year in statute is the annual financial statement audit, where we're coming in and placing an opinion on your financial statements and then issuing a few other reports that are required alongside of that. And so within your audit report, there's going to be 5 different reports that are going to make up the city's financial statement audit. The first one up there is going to be the annual audit report that's going to talk about if we're replacing our opinion on the statements. So in this report, we're saying here there's an unmodified opinion. That is the highest opinion that you can get within the audit report. That's going to mean that we're placing our material, our opinion rather, and saying that the statements are materially correct. And so there's no deviations from accounting standards or any other factors kind of that are in line with these statements. They're materially correct, in other words. There's also some places in that audit report where it's going to talk about management's responsibilities for the audit versus our responsibilities. So namely, we're the auditor and not obviously the bookkeepers for the city. So we're placing our kind of independent opinion on the financial statement within line with those statements. There's some other paragraphs in that audit report and that audit opinion rather for those first 3 pages that talk about required supplementary information that's required under government auditing standards within your financial statements annually, along with any other matters that are reported within the audit report. And then as it also kind of reminds you about the audit being under government auditing standards, which is a higher level of assurance. So I usually like to remind my clients that this is a higher level of assurance because you are a government we fall under what we call yellow book standards. So we have to do a few extra things that are relevant for governmental audits. The second bullet point there is the single audit report. So because you all received more and expended more than $750,000 in state and federal grants, you did have to have a single audit and a state single audit as well. So you have both in this. When we do our compliance work over that and we test all the different relevant compliance aspects that are necessary for the single audit, we did not have any comments in that area. So that's a clean audit report as far as that goes. So that's always fantastic news for that point. The other report down there is the internal control and compliance report. So this is the report that as we're doing our financial statement audit, if areas pop up that we have to put a comment in there about maybe a segregation of duties issue or other kind of area that the significant efficiency or material weakness, it would usually come up in this report. And this year we did have one kind of recurring comment that we've had for the past number of years that has to do with just making some significant audit adjustments to the financials that the city has after we received the initial kind of trial balance. So there's just one kind of recurring comment in there. And then at the very, very back of the audit, you'll see that there is a management response section that is that will be relevant to that as far as what the city's plan is for that comment. The last 2 bullet points are items that are required by the Auditor General. So the Chapter 10550 Auditor General report, that's going to be one that has kind of all other matters in there. If this is a report where if there were areas that, like for instance, most common would be if there was like a financial condition issue or a financial emergency, that would be reported in this report. There was no such issues or recommendations or other matters that we noted in this report when we did all of our testing. So this is a clean report for the 10550 letter. As far as the independent accountant's examination report, this is going to be another clean report, but has specifically to do with really a lot of the state requirements over governments for their investments and any invested assets that the city has. And so as far as that goes, there was a clean report there when we did all our compliance work around the investments. And the last bullet point there, a little star at the end, is that the city does have a CRA. So a CRA requires a separate financial statement audit to be issued over the CRA itself. So that's just another note to say, hey, there was no findings in the CRA standalone audit, and we can look at what the CRA's balances were once we get to that slide in a minute, but there was no findings or other issues noted within the CRA standalone financial statement audit. As far as the fund balances go, one thing we usually like to look at with our governmental clients is something they're usually particularly interested in is their fund balances, particularly with their general fund as being the main kind of reserve holding fund in the overall city's financials. And so as far as the general fund goes for the city of Lynn Haven, we have a picture up here of the balances going back to 2021. And you can see at the very top, it's non-spendable going all the way down to unassigned. And the theory here is that with non-spendable, that would be the most restricted use of all of your fund balance. And unassigned is kind of everything else that is left over after those middle three buckets. For those middle three buckets, you're going to have restricted, which is going to be outside entities have restricted some of your fund balance. And then basically you can't use that except for those restricted purposes. And then the assigned and committed are internal restrictions with, committed being usually by some kind of formal order and assigned being kind of a less formal but still restricted kind of use internally. When we talk about fund balance, we think of assets minus liabilities. So I did want to add that in there, that this is not, always necessarily cash in the bank, although a lot of it is, I'm sure. But it's really what's left over after, in theory, you were to pay off all of your liabilities at year end, taking into account all of your assets. So really, a lot of if you're in a for-profit business, you would call that your equity, right? What's left over after everything's paid off at year end. So at the end of 2024, you had about $22 million in overall fund balance. Of that, $18.4 million was unassigned and $312,000 was assigned. So two of the less restricted uses there. And then what we usually like to do as well is to put that into context. So when we talk about governmental entities, we talk about the health of their reserves is usually one big kind of key component. And so we take those unassigned and assigned fund balances. There were $18.7 million at the end of fiscal year 24, and we compare them to all of your expenditures in the general fund in 2024. And the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, they recommend a minimum 2 months of reserves. And really, it should be probably 4 months of reserves, so double that number for coastal areas like yourself. And so really about a 30-something% reserve is probably the minimum that is probably required or necessary rather than the recommendation. You all have, at the end of 2024, a 79.7% reserve, so you're above that minimum, which is a healthy reserve number. The prior year reserve percentage was about 76.8%. So overall, the health of the overall fund balance position is good, and so that's good to see. And that plays a factor into how you can make decisions if there were an emergency or anything else like that. Next slide here is going to talk about the other funds that exist within the city. So just quickly go down them. There's going to be the CRA fund. Obviously, we talked about that with no findings. That had a non-full fund balance, as you can see, of $1.1 thousand, and then a $1.3 million restricted fund balance that's obviously restricted for CRA purposes. There's also exists the disaster recovery fund. That's where a lot of the FEMA activity goes. That ended up with $1.36 million in ending fund balance as of fiscal year 24. And you can see the revenue and expenditure totals kind of here in this slide. The ARPA fund was set up, I think, a couple years ago when all the ARPA funding started happening. And that's a fund to kind of track the expenses a little bit for some of the ARPA items. All the ARPA stuff is externally unrestricted at this point. Internally, you all as the commission have assigned $5 million of fund balance to kind of track the further uses of those ARPA funds. And then lastly, a slide is there was no new long-term debt issued. In the fiscal year 2024, there was $38.9 million in total principal outstanding, and there was $4.7 million in principal payments made during the year for the debt. So those are good figures to kind of keep track of how much debt was still left over at the end of the fiscal year, and then how much was made for principal payments during the year. far as the enterprise funds go, with the 4 different kind of enterprise funds you all have going, you can see there's some different variations of items going on here with the water, sewer, stormwater, and sanitation. At the end of fiscal year 24, all of the funds except the stormwater had positive unrestricted net position balances. Usually what we look for in these unrestricted balances are more like trend. And so we can see, for instance, the water fund trending up. We can see the sewer fund is trending up overall since 2022. And then some variations with stormwater, but also with sanitation trending up as well. Nothing that I think stands out as overall concerning to me. I'd say usually what we recommend our clients is that they just monitor the overall financial kind of position of some of their enterprise funds. And if, it's necessary to, change different expenditure structures or rate structures, that they kind of monitor that for the overall health of the fund. That way it's functioning and being funded correctly. As far as the pension funds that exist within the city obviously it does have the general police and fire pension fund, pension plans and funds that exist. It also has FRS funds. And so one thing we usually like to point out, or it doesn't have FRS, it has general police and fire, but one thing we usually like to point out is for these net pension liabilities that they exist as a liability on the governmental activity statements for $285,000 there. And then the proprietary funds, there's $127,000 liability there. So you can kind of see the history of the funds and the funding percentages there, with 94% being funded for the general pension plan at the end of 2024. And then the police and fire pension plans actually have a net pension asset, which is why the funding is above 100% funded there. So these are all, healthfully funded plans, no concerns from an audit standpoint that we have over these plans. Other than that, we are basically done with the 9/30/24 audit. So I think at this point, from James Moore's perspective, this will be submitted to the state, I believe, this week, working with the kind of finance department. And we are ready to kind of wind this one up and then on to the next one in the fall when we do. You all have any? But otherwise, we love working with you guys. We appreciate it. And thank you for a good year.
All right. Thank you, Ben. We'll go seat by seat to see.
We shared it again. That would talk about a lot of the reserve balances that exist within the city. So I think from a reserve standpoint, there's a healthy reserve balance. I know the city's also been working on, I think it's been a big priority to kind of work towards some of the debt numbers and kind of paying down a lot of the outstanding debt. So that's been a big kind of focus point, I know, with the city commission as a whole and kind of a lot of individual members and otherwise. So I think from an audit standpoint, we obviously didn't have any financial condition issues, any financial emergency issues that kind of came up during the audit. And we do a lot of testing around any other concerns that pop up. One thing to point out is, I think you mentioned the F word, which in our world is fraud. So just to address that, as far as that goes, we do, ask different inquiries of different, potential key people with regard to fraud, and we kind of look at that. We are obviously not fraud investigators, but I do disclaim, we don't, obviously this is not a forensic audit or a fraud, kind of examination. But we do look at that in our testing if anything comes up in our sampling and testing to be aware of. And throughout all our testing in the financial statement audit perspective, nothing came up with regard to that.
All right. So overall, when we look at like our GFOA, our fund balance, that increasing by $4 million over the past 3 to 4 years, and the reserves, you would say that we're pretty healthy.
Yeah, I'd say the reserve balance is well over the minimum recommendation. So it's a good thing.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Peebles.
Great questions. So I don't have to ask those. But I guess my one question would be the one material finding. I mean, obviously the report looked excellent. There's only that one finding, so it makes it easy. If you only have one finding, that's a good thing, obviously. But I just kind of, if we could get a better idea of what that finding was.
Yeah. So that finding has been, and I don't know if Vicki wants to speak to it all, but I know we've been kind of, going, that's been there for a couple of years now. Essentially, if you think about it, what the standards say is when we get the financial information from the accounting system, it should be in a form that requires minimal adjustments on our part as far as different account balances go for different assets, liabilities, revenues, expenditures, kind of anything that's representative in that financial system. And there's been a couple of different cases with a couple of different areas within the financial system that we've had to kind of help come alongside and make some adjustments to. And we've tried to work with staff, and we're continuing to work with staff and others to see what we can do to make these not happen in the future. So it's kind of an ongoing area where we're kind of trying to assist and say, hey, like, here's some areas where things are still happening and working through that. But because we did have to assist in that area and make some of those significant adjustments, we had to kind of put that recurring comment in there. So that's kind of where that comes from.
Awesome, thank you.
I have no questions.
Commissioner Ward? Nothing. And Commissioner Vandegrift?
I would like the citizens to know that we each had an opportunity to spend individual time with the auditor. So the auditors went over everything with us, and we had an opportunity to ask questions. And so if it appears we don't have any questions, it's because they have already been answered. I just want to review, when you came onto the scene with the city, how much did we owe, Miss City Manager? 60-something million?
66 million.
We owed $66 million. And we had, what, 21 million before the storm came?
There was a total of, 37 million. That includes in enterprise and general fund.
Okay. And then the hurricane came, and for cleanup and we had to borrow money. So the city has been working diligently to try to cut down on that amount. And as the auditor just stated, it's down from 66 million to 38.9 million. And I think that's quite an accomplishment.
And the end of this year, it will be at 31 million, somewhere along in there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I'll refresh your memory that this commission authorized the payment of the stormwater note. So it will be reduced by a minimum of 4.4 million. That payment was made in late December of last year.
Right.
So we no longer owe any money on that stormwater loan.
No, ma'am.
Good. My next question is, do we expect any more money from FEMA?
Yes, ma'am. There's about $8 million right now.
Still on the table?
That's still on the table. Kiki and I are constantly meeting with FEMA. We are in rounds right now with their insurance adjuster. This is one of the big things that's happening now, not just to our city, everyone's city, to ensure that they don't claw back any money, meaning we don't have to pay back any money.
Like another city close to us?
That's correct.
It's the county? County.
Yeah. But there are many cities that are having to pay back. Okay. So we're working diligently to make sure that all of our monies have been tapped in the right place.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
All right. Thank you, Ben. City Manager, anything else?
Nope. Thank the finance staff for doing a great job. It's been a long audit season. I'm sure Ben can attest to that, but we're very pleased with what we've seen. And if the city remembers, in 2019, we had about $6 million in our general fund. And at the end of 2024, we have over $18 million. So the city is definitely in good financial status.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ben. We'll see you next year. All right. At this time, moving on to our city attorney.
Yes, I have two things. Some of you may know, although many of you probably do not, that Mrs. Vandegrift was my assistant principal when I attended Surfside Middle School a few years ago.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. You were 13, we won't say how old I was.
At that time, I don't think either of us would have or could have predicted we might be sitting at a table like this to do business like this. But it's truly been a pleasure to serve alongside of you, to serve this city. So thank you. And second, I just want to say it's been a really wild state legislative session. And so I've been conversing with staff about some of the bills that have been more concerning. We'll continue to monitor what gets passed or vetoed in the next couple weeks. But I anticipate that in the next months, I may be making some recommendations of some proposed legislation I would like y'all to consider in response to some of the bills that get passed, and even some of those that didn't, but we expect to come back. That's my report.
All right, thank you. This time, moving on to our consent agenda, approval of minutes 4/21/25, approval of Florida Department of Commerce grant, amendment number 4 for Florida and Ohio Avenue Improvements Project, and approval of resolution 2025-05457, adopting the 2025 Bay County Local Mitigation Strategy Plan, and approval to appoint Commissioner Peebles as Mayor Pro Tem for the next 12-month rotation. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. In regards to agenda item number 15, actually, this is not discussion only. This is our second reading. This is our second reading for this ordinance. We had our first reading back in the first meeting in April. We came to our second reading, and then we asked City Attorney to go and change the content of the ordinance to be reflective of our actual original ordinance and sort of make some updates to that. So I want to be clear that today is actually the second reading for this and not discussion only. So this is our continuation for that second reading on this ordinance. City Attorney.
Sure. So this is a considerably and significantly simplified proposed regulation. It does expand your current regulation. It only speaks to the parking of recreational vehicles on residential land. It allows the parking of RVs within a backyard, side yard, or the driveway of an owner's residence, so long as it is not also located in any portion of the public right-of-way. It also requires that those RVs not be used for living or sleeping purposes, be maintained in an operable condition, and be properly licensed. Since we discussed this ordinance on Friday, I have added side yard to the places where these RVs may be stored.
All right. Any discussion from the commission? I know we've discussed this several times, and then we had a new discussion about it on this past Friday. So I guess we can just go around the table and see any additional input.
Sure. So I think one of the things when we talked about on Friday that was kind of like we weren't sure 100% how we wanted to handle it was the right-of-way, because that can get kind of weird because everyone's right-of-way could be different from somebody else's, depending on where their property line is and how Bay County property appraiser might not be perfect. So we may have to hire a surveyor to come out there if someone contests a citation or something like that. So I thought, it might just be easier that rather than saying right of way, we just straight up say a certain amount of feet from the center of the road. Because it doesn't matter where you're at, there is going to be a road there, and you can just measure the feet off of the road. And then it's pretty simple for the code enforcement. They just go out there with a tape measure it, and then if it meets it, it meets it. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. That way we don't have to worry about surveyors. We can just use a tape measure. And then that also will give citizens on the other side of the coin is it'll give the citizens a way to just know, to be able to measure that themselves rather than going through all the work of figuring out where the right of way actually is. So I think just being straight up saying this is on the driveway, this many feet from the center of the road. That's my suggestion. Other thing is City of Lynn Haven update on the language, but
We'll fix it before you sign.
all right.
All right, thank you for that input. Any comments on what Commissioner Peebles recommended?
Yeah, I agree with what he's saying. It's a hard one to quantify, and I've looked at some other cities' codes, and I even looked in the Florida Green Book, and they don't typically have like a set number to how much feet from the road in that. So,
City Manager, could you? Oh, I'm sorry. You finished, Commissioner? Ward?
yeah.
Okay. Could you, I guess, ask appropriate staff to come up to give us some feedback on?
Chris.
So Chris is the guy. All right. So from a feet perspective or distance from the road and right away, you hear what we're asking. So
one concern with that could potentially be that the road is not necessarily in the center of the right of way. So like the center of the line. So if you have a 60-foot right of way, you might not necessarily have 30 feet from the center of the road to their property line on either side. So if the road is offset, the person on the north side of the road may get 50 feet, while the person on the south side of the road only gets 20 feet. So that could be a potential conflict you run into that code enforcement would have to deal with, and Chief Ramey would be the one to talk to about code enforcement issue. But from a right-of-way perspective, from Public Works side, we run into an issue a lot where the road is not necessarily the center of the right-of-way, where it's been offset, or over the years, it was platted, and then people built and moved, and the driveways don't necessarily line up like they should. So that would be our concern from our standpoint there.
and I guess so how much is it or estimate for us to have a surveyor to come out, because we're here because people did contest, right? So they did contest when code enforcement said, hey, you're in violation.
When we ran into a stormwater issue where there was a stormwater pipe going through an easement, it's about $1,500 to have them come out and stake out the property corners and the right-of-way and the easements. So every time an issue came up, it would be about $1,500 for them to come out and stake that out.
City Attorney, if the resident contested the violation or the citation from code enforcement saying, no, we're not in the right of way, would they be responsible for bringing out the surveyor, or would the city have to be responsible for bringing out the surveyor?
Ooh, the city probably carries the burden of proof to say that there's a violation of its own code, if I had to guess. If I could offer an alternative along the same lines, though, that from an enforceability standpoint may accomplish the same goal, perhaps you could set a distance, 10 feet, 5 feet, whatever we think that visibility triangle needs to be that we're trying to solve, from the edge of the paved vehicular street. That edge of pavement may be it doesn't go to the center line then. But
That would meet the same thing I'm trying to get across. So.
Yes, I think that's a good recommendation, but would that put us back in the same right of way issue?
In my opinion, it would. Wherever that road falls, where you're measuring from, whether it's the center line or the edge of pavement, you potentially could have more for this resident, whereas the resident across the road does not have as much. It really you would have to have a perfectly platted and perfectly aligned subdivision where each was even to make that method work, or to make that method fair.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming that when the RVs were in the backyard, then this wasn't an issue.
So I would have to defer to Chief Ramey on that.
You all are going to make this very difficult on code enforcement, on me and on the city. Because when we start issuing the citations, and it's not, as Mr. Warwick said, to try to quantify that distance on different properties is going to make it difficult. You know as well as I do, our hearing officer will have many appointments. And the city, as she said, is the burden of proof is on the city. So everyone that gets contested, you're going to pay for the ultimate cost of to find out where the city right-of-way is. I'm going to speak into you right now. This is a tough decision, but if you stuck with the side and the back, we wouldn't be here. It's tough, and I get it. But just because you don't want to make a tough call, do the next right thing, because you're going to make it very difficult on code enforcement by the way this reads. It's not easy, but you got to do the right thing.
All right, are there any further questions, suggestions?
Well, this is the third meeting where I have voiced my opinion on this topic, and I know I'm the
Please.
minority here. And I'm sure you would like to hear it again.
Please.
Oh, thank you.
Please. This is your last meeting, so we want to hear it.
That's true. You throw tomatoes at me. Those 300 people that are in violation right now knew what the rules were when they purchased their camper or RV. We're changing the whole process because those 300 people can't follow the rules. That's how I look at it. I'm sorry. I am opposed to it being in the front yard at all. I agree with the side yard and the back, but I think for Lynn Haven to keep a clean, beautiful image, this isn't the way to do it. So.
Thank you. I know it's been a tug of war, but we have been listening. That's how we got back to this one, as opposed to the other one. And you are giving us a little more, because before it was just don't do anything, just leave it as is. So you are giving us a side yard. So
I agree.
Thank you.
I'll agree with the side yard.
All right. So Commissioner Ward.
I hate to say this, but I had a couple people reach out to me on this, and when I did talk to them, I saw that on there it said discussion only, and in the actual agenda packet, it says first reading. So in order to prevent, make it look like what we're doing is unfair and that, I'd recommend we do it at the next meeting.
All right, so postpone until the next meeting again.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to kick the can down the road. I've already told the residents, hey, it's only discussion only. This is the first one. And I don't know if any of them showed up, but you guys tell me what you think.
Make a motion.
I make a motion, we table till the next meeting.
I'll second.
All right, motion second. Any comment from the community? All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Moving on to agenda item number 16, discussion and possible approval of resolution 2025-05455, approving a development agreement with Marina Island LLC.
I want Vicki to read the title of the resolution first.
If you read that by title only, please.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, approving the development agreement with Marina Island LLC regarding the development of 157 acres of property located at the terminus of 10th Street as more particularly described in this agreement. Authorizing a combination of residential, commercial, recreational, and marina-based uses, establishing maximum height, density, and intensity for the development, providing for execution and recording, and providing an effective date.
All right, City Attorney.
So this is a development agreement. It addresses the same property for which the overlay district also addressed. I will say that given your action with the overlay district to remove that one tract, the acreage for this agreement is 139. Is that what we agreed, Andy? So it's a development of 139 acres, which we'll correct in the body of the resolution. This was obviously prepared prior to your action on the overlay district. The agreement does create a term of 30 years in which it cements the developer's entitlements to the certain uses, densities, heights, intensities for the 139 acres to which it is subject. It also builds in some timelines for development and speaks to the development and build out of the infrastructure that's required in certain public facilities. This is the second public hearing, so you may adopt this resolution at the conclusion of the public hearing.
All right, and public hearing opens at 10:22. All right, is there any questions for the city attorney? I know we went over this on Friday and we've done some discussion on this previously. Are there any additional questions for the city attorney in this regard? All right, I know we asked staff to ensure that someone representing Marina Island would be here. Are there any questions for Marina Island?
I guess I just wanted to hear if you had any feedback on this agreement.
Andy Bales from Marine Island. No, we're happy with the agreement. We had to give some, and we're hopeful that we can finish this and get the signed ordinance so we can get started out of the project.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just knew there were some changes to the initial plan, so I just wanted to give you the opportunity to speak on it, so I appreciate it.
No worries, thank you.
All right, any further questions? All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, comments from the public? Ms. Walker?
Here we go again. I opened it up with saying that, you only have 3 minutes to go through something that's going to take 30 years of planning. You've got to look at it. You don't have the development order. That's what you're waiting for. That's what's going to put the cinch on it. That's when you're really going to get down to the nitty-gritty here. But you look into this just like we did with the 950 acres. We did a lot of time on this, and we spent a lot of time on that. We spent 10 years on this one. We batted it around a long time. Presentation the last time, like I said, failed. The entrance into the CRA, that failed. The MO for Marina Island LLC has not been very good. So you've got to watch out what you're getting into. For example, when we failed to do the master plan the first time, the buildings were going to be 5 stories, condos on Tennessee Avenue. That shot this whole thing down completely. The phases, you don't know the phases. Like I said, the development order is going to take a little while to get, you're going to have to digest that. Then you're going to know that for 30 years, you're going to have heavy equipment going in and out on one road. They haven't defined that road. FDOT knows nothing about the roads going in. They're going to be owned by Marina LLC. When it comes time, 30 years thereafter, and the roads are all beat up, they're going to turn them over to you, like they did in the country club. So you got to look at the future, what's going to happen here in 30 years. I'm not going to be here. You're not going to be here. But what you're leaving your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren is what they're laying the groundwork for now, is what Lynn Haven will never look like again. Good luck.
All right, thank you. Additional public comment? Yes, sir.
Commissioners, first of all, we have not submitted, this is the first master plan that we submitted to the city in the history of Marina Island, since I've been involved, since 2017, purchasing the land. We did submit a low-rise 3-story condominium building to be built on the low-density residential. that wasn't approved. And I think that's what Mr. Walker is referring to. Since then, we've not done anything with that but plan housing, single-family houses on it. Secondly, with regards to the just the general nature, we're not Area 51, we're not trying any sort of thing to sabotage or do anything but beautify the city. We like Lynn Haven. We think it's a beautiful town. We think the people here are wonderful. And we want to invest billions of dollars into the development of this property, which is going to generate tens of millions of dollars in additional taxes for the city. It's going to generate thousands, if not 10,000 jobs throughout the course of the construction and so forth, plus permanent jobs, high-paying jobs that are going to benefit the city, and many things that we have planned that the city will see during the development order process and so forth. No hidden agendas, no, big developer coming in to swoop in on a small town or something like that. We want to partner with the city. We've expressed our interest in building a world-class children's technology museum in the city, in the Marine Island. We would also be open to talking, if there's an issue with the library, about providing some space for a library. Maybe that could be an alternative that you can consider. But I think it will, and your grandchildren will thank you for having that in your city, in this town. So that's the only comment. In regards to the construction equipment, thank God we have a large site, so a lot of that stuff can actually be contained on the site. And we were fortunate enough to get the ROW, which gets us to 390, so we can avoid any, what's happening right now actually in the Nelson Industrial Park is you've got trucks coming down the street, I think, and actually Mr. Tannehill's presentation, there was a picture of an oversized truck, semi-truck, and it was coming down Arthur, but in order to get to Arthur, you have to go through the neighborhoods and stop signs and speed bumps and all of that stuff, so we won't have any of that, so.
All right, thank you. And before you take your seat, there might be other public comments that you might be able to follow up on if needed. Additional public commentary? All right. If not, thank you. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Public hearing closes at 10:30 a.m. All right, discussion and possible approval to appoint a new member to the city's Board of Adjustments. We did discuss this on Friday, and per our new policy that we initiated, it will rotate through commissioners in regards to appointment. So Commissioner Parno, after review, do you have a new member that you would like to suggest to the board for approval?
Thank you. Yes, I do. Mr. Wesley Lockwood.
All right, Mr. Leslie Lockwood is the recommendation. Are there any questions for Mr. Parno? Any of that? All right, so, all right, Commissioner Parno, if you'll make that motion for us.
I'd like to move that we recommend Wesley Lockwood.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and second by Commissioner Parno, Commissioner Vandegrift. Is there comments from the public? City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Moving on to new business, discussion and possible approval to authorize the mayor to sign and execute Amendment 2 to the contract with Green South Solutions, LLC, to include the watering by belt press on site at 10 cents per gallon.
Yes, sir. As discussed Friday, this is our second amendment to the contract with Green South Solutions, and this will allow us to utilize a belt press provided by Green South Solutions and run that at 10 cents per gallon. It is about the same price as what we are paying now for liquid sludge removal. However, it is more operationally sound. It will help us keep our head above water and keep the plant running as it should. staying in parameters of our sludge wasting.
All right. Questions for Mr. Lightfoot?
Just please keep us updated on this whenever we can get back to making cake.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I just have a comment since I question him all the time about the sludge. I wish the citizens knew how important of a topic this is. You know, when you flush your commode, you don't realize it actually has to be dealt with, and that costs money. And so this is an important topic to stay on top of.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Vandegrift, for that insight.
Mr. Ward just made a comment, so that's what I was laughing about. I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's from the north.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's a
Didn't know
southern
what
thing.
that was, so.
All right. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Ward. Comments from the public? All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passes. In regards to our comprehensive plan, we did have some discussion on that Friday on how we want to move forward in discussing the comprehension plan. We did get some review back from our staff, city manager. And so ideally what we would like to do is work through the comprehensive plan. And then we'll have someone to come in at the end to sort of help us contextualize it, make sure that our grammar is correct. Commissioner Vandegrift made note of that. And that we try to make sure it speaks with one voice, but more importantly, that is written in a way that it will be acceptable to the state is what's important. Keeping in mind that what we put in the comprehensive plan also helps us with the UODC, but to get more parameters or more specific, we need to also deal with the ULDC as well. And so what I would ask as we're talking about the ULDC at this moment is that if there are particular areas in the ULDC that you would like for us to discuss, that you would send those to the city manager, and then we can start working in those areas as well. So if there's particular areas in the ULDC that you heard from citizens, that you want us to discuss, please get it to the city manager, and then we'll try to have an organized way of working through that also. Not that we can't just go through the ULDC like we've been doing with the ordinances, sort of, chapter by chapter or sort of in a linear fashion, but we certainly want to make sure with the ULDC that we try to hit those areas that are of most concern first, because what's in the first part of the ULDC may not be a big concern, right? And that we can eventually get back to that, but there might be some hot button issues. And I know there's some hot button issues that you all have heard over the years, that we have heard from citizens. And so prior to the next meeting, if you could get the ULDC information to city manager, and we're not going to probably, if you turn in 10, we're not going to discuss all 10 in the next meeting, but we'll start making arrangements to work through that, because staff have to do some research for us on that as well, to make sure that's how we can discuss it, and the questions that we have. So simultaneously, we want to try to, work through the comprehensive plan sort of in a sequential order, but with the ULDC highlight the issues that are most pertinent right now, so that we can try to do, both of these somewhat at the same time and make progress with that. All right, moving on to number 20, discussion and possible approval of resolution 2025-05456, authorizing the city to place the proposed stormwater assessment on trim notice. City Attorney.
Because you have discussed and by consensus agreed to modify your tier structure by which your stormwater assessments are based, and also changed the unit of measurement from a EBU to an ERU. That change in methodology requires a two-step process to get this implemented for collection in the next fiscal year. This is the first step. This is your initial resolution that puts the world on notice that you are changing your methodology and sets out the new tiers and methodology for that. So this this is consistent with the procedure you have adopted by ordinance. It sets forth the methodology, the new billing rates, and directs the city manager to prepare a notice of this effect.
All right, so you mentioned 2 steps, and I'm asking these questions for public clarity. What is the second step?
Second step will be the adoption of a final resolution, which when there are no changes, you have also called your annual resolution. It will happen in September at the same time you generally adopt your annual stormwater resolution. This year it'll be called your final.
Okay, and of course, I know as a commission, it's in our purview to change our mind, but if we continue following the methodology that we've selected this year, if we continue to sort of follow that methodology, would we need to have another trim notice sent out, or how would that work next year if we say, okay, hey, we're going to leave as is and just continue to follow what we decided on this year?
So if you stick with this new methodology that you have adopted here, next year you'll only need to do the one annual.
Okay, so just the one annual resolution, which is the adoption of that.
Your
Which
annual
is,
roll on the same methodology.
okay, so just making citizens aware that there will not be a trim notice or notification sent out next year if we stay with this methodology.
There won't be an additional or extraordinary notice.
Okay.
It's a 5-year plan that you all approved.
All right, so they won't hear from us for the next 5 years, hopefully.
Unless you change your mind.
Unless you change your mind.
Which is possible. But hopefully we can stick with this, and certainly seeing where we see stormwater is per our audit, we need to stick to a plan so that stormwater won't be in the negative. All right, discussion and possible. All right, so we have that. Is there any other questions for city attorney? All right, is there a motion to approve?
I need to read the last one.
Yeah, if you read that for us.
Resolution number 2025-05456, a resolution of the City Commission of Lynn Haven, Florida, relating to the delivery and funding of stormwater-related essential services within the city, providing for stormwater assessments within the entire city area of the city, estimating the service costs to provide stormwater-related essential services and capital equipment and facilities, establishing the method of assessing the stormwater-related service cost against real property that will be specifically benefited, directing the city manager to prepare preliminary stormwater assessment roll, establishing public hearing to consider imposition of the proposed stormwater assessments, directing the provisions of notice in connection therewith, and providing an effective date.
All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Vandegrift. Comments from the public? City manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift? Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Discussion in regards to the referendum concerning the library in the Northwest Florida Regional Library. As we know from the non-binding referendum that was on the April 22nd ballot, that, and I'm using this, keeping it simple, that residents voted no in regards to building a new library at 1.9 million with 320,000 possibly to staff it ongoing, but yes to making connection with the Northwest Florida Regional Library. And so what we discussed on Friday briefly was for staff to bring us back some options to consider in regards to what a media center or library could look like for us. Though we had plans, I think 100% complete plans for a library with Mont McDonald. Now getting more feedback from the citizens, then we're adjusting those plans for that. So as of right now, there is no plan in place on how we're going to proceed with the library. I know there are rumors of how we're probably going to proceed, but there's no plan. So we have not decided on a particular plan of how to move forward with that. Initially, with the Mont McDonald plan, the plan was to build on site beside the senior center and then have a corridor that would connect us to the senior center. That way, if we had evening events, that the senior center could provide an overflow for that. But right now, we don't have any plans in place for that. So we're going to let staff do some research for us and bring us back some information over the next weeks or so that we can have further discussion on what moving forward with the library looks like. In regards to the Northwest Florida Regional Library, city manager is coordinating with staff to set up a meeting for us to have those discussions on what that agreement would look like for us in Lynn Haven. So that is in the works per our Friday discussion as well. So just wanted to make it clear, and let me also make this clear, is that we love our seniors. All right, we love our seniors, and we certainly don't like infringing on you, especially with weeks like this where you're out of the senior center for a week, and then on next Tuesday as well. So I do remember when we sat down and made that agreement a few years ago, that we had some seniors that came to us that were concerned that once leadership changed and once the city manager retired and once we as commissioners were no longer here, that they wouldn't have access to the senior center as they do now, which is when we sat down and came up with that 32-year agreement to ensure that beyond our terms, that there would still be a place for our senior group in order to meet. So I do want to say thank you for coming up and sharing your sentiments in regards to that. We have heard from you prior to now, but thank you for putting that on record so that it won't be any excuse that we haven't heard and that we don't know how you feel about that. So do know that at this time there are no official plans to do anything with the senior center at this moment, but all those things are still under discussion. And typically for discussion only, we usually don't have any comments from the public, but for the next 10 minutes, we'll open the floor if there are comments from the public. If you'll come to the mic, please.
Thank you again, Jack Crutchfield. My daddy once told me, never come up with a problem unless you got a solution. And I know that after Hurricane Michael, the city departments moved into these FEMA trailers that were really quite nice. And they operated out of there for a long time till this beautiful building was built. My suggestion is maybe partnering with FEMA or with the state to see if we can get some other temporary buildings to put in that empty parking lot adjacent to, across the street from the park and adjacent to the senior center. Put in some temporary buildings there to at least set up and establish what you need, what you want, as an interim basis until you can determine how to move forward. Maybe the public opinion will change future down the road. Once you've got one operating and they know the value of that digital center. So that's my suggestion. And that way you don't have to take anything from anybody that's already around. And you might even be helping FEMA in the state where trailers are not being maintained or utilized, and it's costing them for storage and everything else. So that's my suggestion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there another comment? Mr. Walker, I'm surprised. You usually don't speak during public comments.
As you all know, I'm very interested in the library. It goes back a long time. There's a lot of questions about it, but that gentleman is correct. Don't come up here without an answer. I had the answers. I've given the answers to you. There's 3 ways to do this, besides what you have already paid for, the architectural drawings for the media center, et cetera, but you're not listening. And this would be easy. For 70 years, the library functioned without any help from this city of Lynn Haven. The women of this town organized it, ran it for 70 years. You paid nothing. The men of this town gave the ladies the property, the building, the budget, the money, made it run for 70 years. 1970, the ladies turned it over to you. The property, the building, the budget which you don't know, and know what happened. 8,000 books. Then it was given to the city. Through mismanagement by the city manager, no disrespect to you at all, not your bag. He destroyed it. The insurance money that we paid for that building for 20 years, that I know of, is gone. You don't have it. Got ideas. You've got to come up with a plan now. Exactly. If you put it by the senior center, You have one thing happening in Sheffield Park, 7,000 cars. You don't have parking for a library there. Property over here is now a pond. You don't have parking there. You don't have it. There is a place you can go. You just don't want to listen. Mr. Peebles knows. You got to work outside the box. Give it back to the ladies.
All right, thank you. Any additional comments in regards to the library? All right.
I have a comment or a question. Could we see, he's referring to the old library. If a lot of people probably might not know that. But the building still exists. Just out of curiosity, I wonder how much it would cost to get it up to code so that we could utilize that building for a possible library. I think it'd be kind of neat to have the library in the old library, you know. But I don't have any idea how much that would cost. And by the way, Mr. Walker, there's 5 of us up here, and we all think out of the box sometimes, okay?
That is something that we can ask staff to look into. So city manager confirmed.
Because I know it already has water and electricity and a restroom. I don't know about ADA compliant and those other code issues. But it'd be interesting to find out if y'all would.
All right, thank you. So city manager and staff will check into that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for that response. Yes, sir. All right, moving on to agenda number 22, discussion and possible approval to award the bid to Lawn Care and Chemical Services to Lawnscapes of Bay County, a 3-year contract with a 1-year renewal option for $274,904.96 to perform lawn and chemical maintenance services at select city parks and properties. All right, so we did discuss this on Friday. We've received some follow-up emails since then. Are there any questions for city manager, questions for Mr. Ferris or our city attorney? All right, everyone says their questions have been answered. Okay, is there a motion to approve this?
My last motion. So move.
All right. All right, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Vandegrift, second by Commissioner Peebles. Comments from the public. Yes.
So my name's Kimberly Powell. I'm the owner of Legendary Lawn Maintenance. So do you have any questions or answers for the questions that I sent you in an email to all the board members? Do you want me to read them off to you? Okay. So question number 1 is, what is the difference in, let's see, page number 17 we sent out, it says to submit the license with it. But on page number 11, it says that you got 48 hours after awardal. Can anybody clarify that?
I'm not sure what she's talking
In the bid docket?
I don't have those in front of me.
Okay. All right. So can you explain to me how that the email that I received had an attachment at the bottom that was started as a thread by Mr. Littleton that shouldn't be contacting the city because it had not been awarded yet regarding that bid?
Any vendor can contact the city as long as they are not on the scoring committee, and he was not on the scoring committee.
Oh, he's a person who bid.
That's one of the reasons he's not on the scoring committee. When you work on a bid, when you work on an RFP, you can't be on the scoring committee and work on an RFP. So all questions.
Mr. Littleton is the owner of Lawnscapes or partner or whatever.
Correct, and we're answering your question.
Exactly, I understand that. And so questions are directed to the person who knows the most about that particular bid, which was Mr. Ferris, and you can do that.
Oh, I thought you couldn't contact anyone.
Not on the scoring committee.
Not on the scoring committee?
Yeah.
So I can email anyone once the bid has been opened and ask any question?
You cannot email anyone on the scoring committee. Your question should go to either Ms. Rushing or Ty Ferris, or they can come to me.
That's good to know.
Yes, ma'am.
So anything else that has made you reconsider such? I mean, we do have the license. You know, I've been up here in front of y'all before regarding this same thing other than with chemicals. This exact same bid. You just added chemicals this time.
City Attorney, would you clarify some things?
I'm looking through the bid documents right now to try and answer the questions I've heard. My understanding is that the licenses submitted with your bid were limited licenses that did not allow specifically for the application of certain chemicals to turf and the application, the provision of services under contract. And because the scope of services in the procurement documents required, that was a scope of services, it didn't appear that the licenses submitted with your bid authorized you to perform all of the services requested by the bid.
Okay. So we do have the license that is required to perform all of such. On page 11, I believe it is, I'd have to go back and look, but it states that any state license can be submitted 48 hours, within 48 hours after awarded. So that's a state license.
So my recollection, and again, I'm looking for the provision right here. I don't see it on page 11 of the document I've got in front of me. But my recollection is that within 48 hours, you do have to provide evidence of insurance and evidence of your state or local business license. The state license itself to perform the work was required to be submitted with the bid response.
So it states right here, per your document, I made a copy of it. It says state registration or municipal license and state registrations. The contractor shall be responsible for obtaining and maintaining any licenses required pursuant to the laws of Bay County, the city of Lynn Haven, or the state of Florida. You can drop down, and then you can go to it states, within 48 hours after notification of intent to award contract.
You must provide the business license.
The proposer is awarded the contract, it says right here. The proposer must, The proposer must provide a statement with the understanding, if the proposer is awarded the contract, that they must provide a copy of the business license/tax receipt within 48 hours after notification of the intent to award contract.
I think the business tax receipt is different than the state licenses to perform the work.
Okay, it's all in the same paragraph.
And the last line of that paragraph, I also think, says that failure to abide by the timelines will be considered.
Allotted within the timeline will disqualify the proposer.
That's correct. And
Okay, the timeline, 48 hours?
Only for the business license. For the state licenses that
So
require.
there needs to be some clarification there?
Okay. All right. So
mean-
are there any additional questions?
No,
Thank you.
not at all.
All right. Any other public commentary? All right. City Manager, if you call the vote.
I have to go back.
It was Commissioner Vandegrift and Commissioner Peebles.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes, may I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, we're given information about whether or not someone qualifies to bid on a, and it's given to us in the information before the meetings. So that's what we make our decisions on, the paperwork as to who qualifies and who does not qualify. My vote is yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.